What's going on, YouTube? Happy Saturday to each and every one of you. I'm glad you're here with me today. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin here. We're looking at it on the one-day chart. Right now, Bitcoin's at $5,089. We're up 0.22%. I'm going to show you some of my key targets to the downside, some of my key targets to the upside. Talk about some special things here that are going on in the Bitcoin charts, and also that, guys, there could potentially be a large move on the horizon here, and that's what I want to prepare you for. All right, so you just really need to stay alert here because we're in one of those ranges where we can really move far, fast in either direction. So just really keep your guard up, and we'll dig into this. So, guys, if you like what we do here, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll dig in. All right, guys, so what I'm looking at here, we're still following this yellow uptrend, which is great. We've been in this short to intermediate term uptrend now for about 2 months or so, 2 to 3 months, which is awesome. So we've been moving to the upside. We're happy to see that, especially since we put in that low down here, which was around that $3,111, which was a key area for us there. What you saw was this price just basically falling off a cliff here. If I had the RSI up, you would see that as this price was falling, the RSI was going up. So that was showing us that most likely we were gaining strength to try to dig our way out of there. But something key that we were looking at is basically we took from this high down to our low here, and this 0.618 Fibonacci on this reaction that we had. So we have a fall, and then this has been our reaction here. Ever since we hit this 0.618, we started to fall back down. And remember, we looked at past examples where it happened 4 or 5 times to where once we would fall, we've had these reactions to the 0.618, then there'd be a massive sell-off. And a lot of times, if we go back on the chart here, it would even go up to this 0.618, then we would retrace fully or even down past that. So, you know, that's something that you just want to keep your eye on. We did bounce up to this 0.618. We had a shooting star candle. We started to fall back down, and now what we put in yesterday was basically kind of like a little hammer candle. There's a little wick on top, but it's close to that hammer candle. And now what we're seeing is if we get any type of follow through today, which today has been a very small body candle, we're not getting a lot of follow through. And sometimes when that happens, you can just start to roll over, but we're going to have to wait for the close today and see what happens. You know, always pay attention for that rollover. All right, and you can also see where this hammer candle was. We went up to 0.618, and then we came back down, and we were trying to find support off this 0.5 so that we can make another move to the upside. And so far, we really haven't been having that buying pressure to take us to the upside. So that's what I want you to be careful of. My upside targets, though, where I would see if we were to make a strong move to the upside, first it's going to be at this 5,250. So that would be this area right here, that 0.618, coming back up, testing that. If we get up above that, guys, I would be looking at the $5,600 area. And that's going to be right around, let's see, 56, about right in this area where we had this little hesitation. So we had a nice fall here. We moved sideways for a few days, and then we dropped again. So I would look at this area to see if we have any pausing or cooling down there, and then I would be looking up to around that $6,000 range roughly. And 6,000 we hit for a very long time, guys, almost a year, where we'd come down, then we'd have a reaction, start moving back up, come back down, find support, move back up, and then we broke in that descending triangle, and we had this massive fall right here once we broke down out of that. And that was basically textbook. I studied the encyclopedia chart patterns. If you guys haven't seen any of my tutorials, go into the playlist and check them out. I did a descending triangle, and basically I went through and I was looking at the encyclopedia chart patterns, and it was precise on how far the descending triangle would fall, the percentage wise, if there'd be a throwback or not. It talks about all the percentages, so it's just something that's really, really key for us. So I'm paying attention to that here, guys. Those are my upside targets: 5,250, 5,600, and 6,000. That's if we're to make a move to the upside. Now, my downside targets right now, we're going to be looking at this 20 EMA right there, which we've been finding a lot of support off since we started this little uptrend here, and that's going to be around $4,773. So I'm going to look at that area if we do break to the downside. The next stop that I would look at here would definitely be this 200-day moving average, to come back and find support off that or consolidate on that for a while before moving higher, because we're putting in that higher low right now. So we had this blast up, we put in our higher highs, now we're finding our higher low. And sometimes, guys, you're either going to come up here and then you can bounce and fall back down, or you can come back up, test the top again, or fall back down, or you can just finally get back up above it. And that's kind of what we're waiting for now, and we're just paying attention to this range. So upside targets, we're going to look at that $4,542, and then I would also look at around that $4,433. And the reason why I say that, it's all this area right here that we broke out of, and we broke out of it on significant volume. The market makers stepped in. So a lot of times when you break out of things like that, guys, you can come back and back test that, which would also back test this trend line right here, and see if we find support on it. Because anytime you break through resistance, then you want to turn that into support, consolidate a while, and then try to make your next move up. So higher highs and higher lows, and that's what I'm looking for there. You know, and that's why I'm saying an explosive move's coming, because most likely, yeah, we could have a few more days where we move sideways, but most likely we're going to come back up again and try to get over top of this and test it and either fail or get through it, or we're going to have that break to the downside where we could definitely test this 200-day moving average again, which I do believe we need to back test that. We broke through it. We have not back tested that. On Litecoin and some other different coins, we have back tested it, but on Bitcoin we haven't. And without that proper back test and then an explosion from there. So ideally, what we would like, guys, is if we came back and back tested it and then had an explosion on significant volume that looks like this right here, off that 200-day moving average, then you would know for sure. You'd say, all right, we're defending that 200-day moving average. We're in that longer term uptrend. And that's how trends go. They start short term, then they go intermediate term, and then they go longer term. And that's how the game's played. And right now we're in that intermediate term uptrend, because we've had about close to 3 months here. So guys, this was February for Bitcoin. We'll even take it back to this area here. This was around December, so it has been even longer than that we've been having higher lows. So do you see a higher low here? We've had a higher low here, here, and now we're trying to make it up in here. And we're just going to have to see what happens now, if we're going to get back up or if we're going to drop down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off this Fibonacci now, and we're actually going to look at the RSI and kind of see levels and see if we're getting overextended at all here. All right. You guys, don't forget to hit those like buttons if you like what we do here, and subscribe and share and all that. I really appreciate it. All right, so the uptrend that we want to keep on the RSI, I can see here, just taking a quick look, guys, this is what we're going to want to see a bounce off of. Okay, you can see the RSI right there. We're at 69 right now, 68.55. So we're still pretty close to that overbought territory, friends. I mean, you know, 70 and over is that overbought territory. And you can see here, Bitcoin can get up into the 90s, whatever, 93, 94, 95. And then we always have that sell-off and we come back. And now it's going to be, are we going to get a nice strong bounce off this bottom trend line and keep those higher lows on the RSI? So use that RSI like a line graph. That's what I like to do. But, you know, don't ever be afraid to take profits, especially when the RSI on the 1 day is up in the 90s, guys. Yeah, it could push up a little higher, but do not be afraid to take profits. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, greedy people and the pigs get slaughtered, and it's true. Every book that I read talks about that when you make a profit and you lock it in, be happy and be proud of that, and then move to the next one. Don't beat yourself up, even if the Bitcoin could go up another 10% the next day. If you made a profit on it, be proud of yourself. It was a good trade. Look for the next one, mark that one down, learn from it, and move on to the next one. And that's how you have to play this game. You're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. No one's perfect in this game. No one can predict about these market makers. Sometimes they'll come in when it makes absolutely no sense in terms of what the textbooks and what other markets can tell you. So that's where you have to be very strong-minded in this space, to where, you know, you have to pick yourself up. If you make a bad trade, cut that thing, you know, quick, get out of the trade and move on to the next one and shake it off and keep going, you know. And that's where proper risk to reward management is also going to come into play, which we must have. So right now, guys, I'm really waiting for that break. I'll read them back to you. My upside targets, we're looking at 5250. If we get through that, we're looking at 5,600. Above that would be that 6,000 overhead resistance. Downward targets are 4,542, 4,433 is an area that I'm looking at. Also, we could look at that 4,842 that we'd be paying attention to, guys, and really pay attention to that trend line, this yellow trend line here, to make sure that we're getting bounces off that. If we start getting candle closes in the future below that, that could be a trend line break and we could drop significantly. Always be prepared for trend line breaks to the upside and to the downside. It's very powerful. And one of the trend lines that I did want to show you real quick, because I did a quick update on it a couple days ago, it was on the 4 hour, and I saw this trend line break here. and you can see how we drop out of them. A lot of people don't pay that much attention to trend lines. They say, oh, they're so basic, so simple, but trend line breaks are just so powerful, and you can make a good amount of money off trend line breaks. Apologize for that, guys. Alright, so we're just going to draw a rough trend line here. We'll go off the wicks. Let's see. So guys, if we went through the wicks right here, you can see wicks down here, wicks right here. This one didn't make it here. We had a little breakdown through it. We fell, we hit a hammer candle. Now we're just kind of being pressed up above it. Now if we went off the real bodies, so we'll pull real bodies here. Let's see. Alright, so it's pretty similar. So right here, guys, we're just looking to see if we bounce back off this and get up in it, or if we're going to bounce off it and come back down and start falling again. That's what I would be paying very close attention to. Let me see if there's any other trend line I can throw on there for us. Guys, just looking at some different areas about this break. You know what? It may have been this one that I had right here. Let's see. Yes, this was the trend line. I apologize, guys. So this was the trend line that I was looking at right here. And you can see when we broke down through that, that's when we fell. And then sometimes you'll come back and test it and fall again. But right now we did not get that significant bounce. We're just kind of moving sideways. It's almost looking like a little bear flag where we had that high volume, then the volume tails off, and then sometimes you can break to the downside again. So just really keep that in mind. I apologize for boring you all here looking at that trend line, but I wanted to get it right, and that's the one I was looking at, this one right here. Okay, so take care, my friends. God bless each and every one of you. I look forward to bringing out another video, maybe one more tonight, if not, hopefully tomorrow. Take care, my friends. Have a safe Saturday night.